Coming up, Masterplan for Warrill Park Lawn Cemetery. Proposed changes to disaster funding arrangements prompts a council response. New place of reflection and remembrance officially opened in Queen's Park. State inquiry into the office of the Independent Assessor and Councillor Conduct Tribunal. Budget leak reveals free waste vouchers for the first time. Spark Ipswich returns in July. And CMC Rocks Queensland will continue in Ipswich. Mayor Teresa Harding joins the show after the June ordinary meeting of Ipswich City Council. It's Friday, June 26, 2026, and I'm Allan Roebuck. Welcome to Ipswich Today. This podcast acknowledges traditional owners and their connection to lands and waters we share. Ipswich Today is supported by Kinetics, people-powered web hosting trusted by Australian businesses since 1999. Thank you for speaking with Ipswich Today, Mayor Harding.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on, Allan.
Before we get to the regular council meeting this month, there was a bit of a technical glitch with the live stream of committee meetings earlier in the month. What happened?
Yes, there was. And look, I was unwell, so I wasn't at those committee meetings, so I was impacted as well. I was like, where are they? So, look, we have upgraded our technology and then we're going through that process of commissioning it. And so, unfortunately, it didn't work for the live stream, but there is a recording and it's up there now for residents to see. But and look, is it funny, Allan? It's people really do like having the ability to watch their council meetings and be able to go back to them later and hear about the conversations and the decisions.
It's well worthwhile. Pre the streaming days, you would get a handful of people in the public gallery. Now you can have hundreds participate via the live stream, which is certainly democracy in action. Let's get on to that democracy now. And
can I say that we're better behaved than our counterparts in the state and the federal governments. We're much better behaved as well.
There's probably some rules around that too. Let's get on to the council meeting. The master plan for Warrill Park Lawn Cemetery, that came up again this week. Has council finally decided what's going to happen with this master plan?
Look, as you know, I think it's a 30-year contract that was entered into some years ago with Norwood. And so this master plan is working with that contractor. We've got plans for new gardens, water features and pavilions, just to really, I think, enhance the sanctity of which is our city's largest cemetery. So that draft Warrill Park Lawn Cemetery master plan was adopted by council, and we took on community consultation and what people would like to see there as well. So it does set a very clear direction for that cemetery, and hopefully it'll preserve the over 15,000 memorials in the 25-hectare site. And remember that part of that site is also has conservation protections with the melaleuca trees there.
It's also very flood prone, and if we have an extended wet period, it almost makes the cemetery unserviceable. Are there plans to extend it sort of further up?
Look, there's plans to extend it, but also improve the drainage there as well. It is a floodplain. You can't get away from that, so we'll manage it as best we can. But can I just say that the extensive community and stakeholder campaign reached more than 40,000 people, and we had 114 people put in survey responses. So, and we very much talked a lot with the local funeral directors as well, and that's why we'll be having a few changes with regards to what kind of services people like to have there.
Let's move on to the Nicholas Street Precinct update. We haven't talked about it much the last couple of months. Let's also talk about a perceived increase in confidential items more broadly. Is this just my imagination, or is the same information available as when there was a separate committee?
I went back and checked because I listened to you over the back fence with Ashley and Walt. And no, in fact, we had more closed sessions last term than this term. So that hasn't changed at all. But maybe there's broader discussion about what's confidential or not. So all the papers that we have, we do get briefed on as councillors, and things that are commercially inconfident we're not allowed to discuss to protect the asset there on behalf of the ratepayers. So no, it's not that more things are confidential. The same amount of information is still available to residents.
Perhaps it's just the fact that it had its own dedicated committee. It was more in the spotlight.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, maybe.
Moving on to the Youth Sustainability Summit held in May. Now, that report was very interesting, great for the young people of Ipswich. What were the highlights?
Look, I go to this every year. A highlight was that we had 160 Ipswich school students, all primary school, come along to the summit. We also had 2 new schools who hadn't attended before, so very appreciative of the schools that allow, put this as part of their curriculum. And all the students are years 4, 5 and 6, and they explore various elements of the city's catchments. We look at how do we drive sustainability efforts. And all these schools have their own, some type of sustainability or environmental clubs there. So whether they do things on recycling or waste or waterways, they're really active youth, and their enthusiasm is infectious.
There was a recent briefing to councillors by the two chambers of commerce. I understand this does happen on an annual basis at least. But why were the two presentations considered confidential from the chamber, and do you know if they'll ultimately be released?
This wasn't a council meeting. It was a council workshop or briefing session. It wasn't a formal meeting. But we do have a partnership with both the Ipswich Chamber of Commerce and the Greater Springfield Chamber of Commerce. And each year we do meet with them to have a discussion on what's happening in the business community, what can council do to support. The Chamber of Commerce tells us about the opportunities and challenges as they see them. So it's a really good meeting. Council didn't present anything, but the two chambers certainly did present us with information about their chamber and their views. So, look, that information is up to the chamber whether they wish to disclose that. But I'm really appreciative of the work. We have two incredible chambers in our community, and I think this year the Greater Springfield will be celebrating 20 years of running, and the Ipswich Chamber is the oldest Chamber of Commerce in Queensland. So, no, it was a meeting at midday with both of them, and a really good discussion, and I really appreciate the efforts that the chambers make.
On to the notice of motion, which was critical of the proposed changes by the Commonwealth Government disaster recovery funding arrangements, bit of a mouthful. It brought some interesting points of view to the original motion proposed by yourself and Councillor Tully. How would you describe what was ultimately decided?
What was ultimately decided was the fact that, Queensland and Ipswich do suffer from natural disasters, and the federal government have put forward a new arrangement, and I'll call it the DRFA, the Disaster Recovery Funding Arrangements. Normally, the federal government would subsidise after a flood, the roads, the river parklands, all that work is usually paid for by the federal and state government, and usually a little tiny bit for council. And traditionally, the feds will pay between 64% and 75%. They're now coming to us saying they're only going to pay 50-50, and their expectation is that the state pick up the other 50. There's been a very strong reaction from the Local Government Association of Queensland. If you go to their socials and see their media pages, so it's not a party political stance. It's one that is based on our community. This will seriously impact our councils and Queensland being able to get back up on their feet after disasters. This week, Alan, I was at the ALGA, the Australian Local Government Association Conference, and I can tell you now this was the hot topic, and Minister McBain was certainly one of the ministers that was at one of the sessions, and she received quite a bit of feedback from mayors and councillors on these arrangements. So it's very much a view there. Look, there were two councillors who believed that these arrangements are okay and that they felt that we should be putting more pressure on the state as well. So the notice of motion was amended to not only write to the Prime Minister and the Federal Minister, but also to the Premier and the State Minister.
There's been some enhancements to Queen's Park up the Chermside roadside near the tennis courts. A new place for healing and reflection was officially opened last week. What was the story behind this project?
Alan, and can I just say, before going on here, I went onto your website, and thank you for putting on a beautiful photo of the Queen's Park Ceremonial Healing and Remembrance Place on your carousel. It's a beautiful photo there. But look, Ipswich's newest landmark is a symbol of the city's 60,000 years of First Nations culture, custodianship and survival, and it's a place of healing and reflection for all our community. Council's been looking at doing this for about 15 years, and I'm really delighted that under last term of council we allocated significant money, and also this term of money of getting this done. And probably the final part in the puzzle for us was the fact that this is also a place to, I guess, remember the frontier wars, and that was not officially recognised by the Australian government until there was a change in government in 2022 in the federal government. So that was sort of the green light for us to proceed. So as a true place of ceremonial expressions will be occurring there. It's a place of reflection. It's a place of remembrance and healing. It was a beautiful, beautiful ceremony. The weather was perfect, and we had some beautiful speeches and a lovely ceremony, and a lot of school kids there as well.
The state government has announced an inquiry into how complaints against councillors should be dealt with. Leader of the House, Christian Rowan, announced the parliamentary inquiry earlier this month. It calls for examination of the effectiveness of the Office of the Independent Assessor, and you and I have spoken about the OIA many times in the past, and the Councillor Conduct Tribunal, known as the CCT. Steve Austin on 612 ABC Radio last Friday scored a first ever interview with the acting chair of the OIA, that's Charlie Cone. Among other issues, Steve asked him about the prohibition of councillors against directing council staff.
So that's a provision within the misconduct definition, and government decides what goes in there. Now,
so if I say, Charlie, I want you to go out and pave that road in front of my house, I'm a councillor elected. You're the council road worker. I'm in breach of the Act if I say, Charlie, you have to get your team and pave the road out there.
Yes. Councillors are expected to be very strategic and more strategic for the whole of the local government area. And the operational arm of council, they're the experts in mowing lawns or digging holes or fixing roads and infrastructure.
Things people care about, yes.
Every single local government's got a way councillors can raise issues, and the council officers would know what's a priority, what's more priority than something else, and then they'll get things done. But currently, as the Act stands, a councillor can't go to an employee and direct them.
Teresa Harding, how common is it for residents to be surprised to be told councillors can't direct staff to do things?
Yes, it's never been legal for councillors to direct staff. The only person who can do that is the mayor to the CEO. That is legally allowed. No one, that cannot happen. And can I use the analogy because the previous council that was dismissed did that, and it's one of the reasons why they were sacked, because it was so prevalent, and that's what caused a lot of the bullying and anxiety in staff. Can I give a bit of an analogy? You'll find that our local federal member Shane Newman doesn't walk on RAF Base Amberley and tell the techos how to fix up the aircraft. Jen Howard doesn't walk into the schools and tell the teachers how to teach long division. There's a curriculum, there is teachers who will do that. So certainly as elected reps, we set the priorities in the budget. If we see an area that is not doing well, so if I do see a park that is not being mowed properly, or if I see a pothole, I don't go up to the guy that's mowing the park and say, hey mate, you missed a bit, because that is not legal. But what I will do is I'll report it as a service request, or I'll go to the CEO going, hey, letting you know that wasn't done properly. And then the CEO makes sure that gets fixed up, and then she reports back to me or the councillor who raised the issue to let them know what happened. So that's why when you do you want to raise a matter, you can either log a service request to council, or you can come to your local councillor or myself to say, hey, well, we're not happy about this, and then we will inform the CEO, and she'll make sure that it gets done.
That's good to clear that up, because it is a huge misconception out there. Council's annual budget will be handed down next week on June 30 at a special meeting, but there have been some strategic budget leaks, including from yourself and Paul Tully. You've revealed that Ipswich will actually get waste vouchers. Why now, and how will they work?
Look, we have heard that constant feedback from people, and whilst the going to the tip only costs $24 and that's highly subsidised, we were always looking at how do we provide better services to our residents. So a couple of years ago we introduced the flexi skip rather than the large curbside collection every second year. So every year you can have that big blue bag that'll take 2 tonnes of waste. Well, not everyone's using that, so we've said to people, if you would prefer, you can sort of trade in that, getting that done once a year, and get a voucher from council, so you can go and use the tip and dispose of up to 500 kilos there once a year.
One of the reasons Ipswich has used for not introducing them is that there were issues with Brisbane City Council ratepayers actually duplicating their vouchers and handing them to friends. How will Ipswich overcome that?
Look, that's something that's the feedback I get from a lot of councils that have vouchers, is the high rates of fraud. And let's face it, fraud is an impost, and the taxpayers pay for that. Our biggest issue still has been, I know some people will want more than one waste voucher. Our biggest issue is the traffic capacity at both our Rosewood and our Riverview resource recovery centres. And until the new one is built out at Rosewood, but also at Redbank Plains, those sites there just will not be able to cope with the amount of traffic as our growing city will have. So hopefully this stopgap measure will help many families.
June's council meeting wasn't without an emotional part of it. Councillor Antonelli and his partner, as we now all know, had a house fire very recently, and councillors very kindly agreed to suspend standing orders so Councillor Antonelli could address the council meeting. What were your takeaways from that?
Certainly, I think Councillor Antonelli and his partner Tanya and the family have been, I think, absolutely blown away with the amount of support from the community. He talked about the strong community connections and how much help and support that has been given to him from different charities and different people, and he was showing his appreciation to the community for that.
And I think that was very important too. So, Again, well done to the councillors for allowing that to happen this month.
Of course.
Spark Ipswich. It's getting bigger and better and more exciting, coming up next month, July 8 to 12. And I'm looking at the program, Mayor, and I see that that very long line of lights from Darcy Doyle Place right down to Toowoomba Place will be in action again. Any other additions to the program?
Look, each year we try to mix it up, and if there's things you'd like to see, always let us know. But we've got quite a few new things. One of the things that we're doing is Matt Chambers, who is on our Ipswich Arts Advisory Group and a bandmaster, he's doing a call out to break the Guinness World Record for a trombone ensemble. So at the moment, the world record stands at 368 musicians in Washington, D.C. back in 2012. So we're hoping to get over 400 people there on the Sunday, the 12th of July, into the Nicholas Street precinct to break that world record. If you just go to Ipswich Festivals, you see all the details there. But we also have some fan favourites that are really popular, like Little Day Out and the World of Music Ipswich, and also the Creative Hub are back as well. So we try to mix it up, and I'm very appreciative of the sponsors that come on board to support this and certainly subsidise the program as well.
CMC Rocks sponsorship has been locked in for another 2 years, and I don't know whether it was yourself or I heard somebody in the council meeting say that we've got to lock it in because others are trying to steal it away from Ipswich.
Every year they try. Every year other councils in South East Queensland and broader try to steal CMC Rocks. We have a very close relationship with Tourism and Events Queensland. CMC Rocks loves the site here, how close it is to, to Ipswich and to Brisbane. But also there's a lot of campgrounds there as well. So it's a very competitive process. That's why we don't publish how much money we're giving as a sponsorship for there as well. Tourism and Events Queensland are given that 2-year agreement, so we've done the 2-year agreement as well. That gives some certainty to the organisers.
A great injection of funds too for Willowbank Raceway, the drag strip itself, to be able to host something other than drag racing on that site. Now, this weekend, Mayor Harding, marks the anniversary of council moving to 1 Nicholas Street. Is that 4 or 5 years? I've lost track.
Be 5 years.
5 years.
And we're having a massive celebration for, I'm about to head off down now to the library, the children's library, to celebrate 5 years. And we had, remember the big dinosaurs walking around for the big launch? But yeah, I guess it was during COVID. Amazing that we got it built and ahead of time, and we even saved a bit of money. Didn't spend as much as we expected, but it's been, the 2 libraries there have been hugely successful.
And the old site there in South Street, we're certainly seeing what it's going to be, with Queensland Health now owning that property, and more cranes in the sky of Ipswich than we've seen for many years.
Yeah, I mean, the car park's going gangbusters, but also West Moreton Foundation, the hospital foundation, is there as well. They've got a very visible presence, and, the amount of, we're getting extra, 200 beds or something there at the hospital. So it's just, we've got so much growth happening here. It's great to see that investment. On that positive note, Mayor Harding, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for speaking with Ipswich Today. Thanks, Alan. And that is it for this episode. A reminder, as usual, to check out the handy links in the show notes. Ipswich Today is supported by Kinetics, people-powered web hosting trusted by Australian businesses since 1999. This podcast is also listener-supported. Please make a once-only gift or regular donation to help keep it online. Visit ipswichtoday.com.au and click Donate. Follow and stream where you get podcasts, including the iHeart app, or play Ipswich Today on smart speakers. This is Allan Roebuck. Thank you for listening. Enjoying Ipswich Today? Please share the love on your socials.